please join me in welcoming Public Counsel Board Member and Interim President and CEO, Rand April.
He's a lot taller than I am. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rand April, and I have been on the board of directors of Public Counsel for almost 20 years. While I believe that my attendance record at board meetings over that period has been pretty good, I apparently missed an important meeting late last year after Public Counsel's previous president and CEO announced that he was stepping down. As a result, I was appointed and stand before you tonight as the acting president and CEO of Public Counsel. Shouldn't miss those meetings. Although my tenure at Public Counsel will be brief, the opportunity to work side by side with the incredible men and women of Public Counsel and to observe the impact that they have on the less fortunate in our society has really provided me with deeper insight into the work of Public Counsel. I have truly been humbled by the experience, and more than ever, I am in awe of the role that Public Counsel plays as a beacon of hope for those seeking justice. Now, the usual role of the president and CEO at this dinner is to congratulate the honorees and then to rally the audience in support of Public Counsel. So let me first take a moment to acknowledge the remarkable work of this evening's honorees. First, as you saw a short time ago, our law firm Pro Bono Award recipient, Morgan, Lewis, and Bacchius, has demonstrated the life-changing role that law firms can play in the pursuit of equal justice through pro bono work. Google, our Corporate Achievement Award recipient, has revolutionized the way the world organizes and shares information and has used its infinite reach and its capabilities to tackle some of the world's biggest challenges and create a lasting global impact. I'm going to go off script for a moment, just to see as an aside whether anyone like me finds it a little ironic that a group of lawyers are honoring Google. It just seems to me that as a group, lawyers probably use Google less than anyone else. I mean, after all, why search for information if you believe you know everything, right? I mean, it's the only Google lawyer joke I could come up with. And lastly, let me, of course, mention Dolores Huerta, the recipient of this evening's William O. Douglas Award. Dolores has literally dedicated her entire life to the struggle for workers' rights, equal rights, and civil rights, and is truly an inspiration to us all. Now comes the part where I try to generate support for Public Counsel, and bear with me because I need to be serious, and unfortunately I need to take up several more minutes of your time. I don't want to follow the traditional approach of continuing to tell you about how magnificent Public Counsel's work is. Rather, I want to take a slightly different tack tonight due to what I believe is a somewhat unique perspective I have gained from having been part of big law for almost 40 years and having managed a law office at Skadden Arps for 18 of those years. As a result, I got to know how law firms operate, and I witnessed and participated in many of the changes in the business of law over these years. Also, having managed Public Counsel for the last 6 months, I've had a close-up view of the impact that changes in the legal profession have wrought upon the public interest sector. And it's that topic that I'd like to spend a few moments speaking to you about tonight. First, let me quickly review just some of the changes I've witnessed over the years in the legal profession. First and foremost, I guess I've seen the practice of law change from a profession to more of a business. I've seen increasing importance that firms place on the bottom line. I've seen loyalty dissipate, where partners and associates jump from firm to firm, seeking higher compensation and greener pastures. I've seen partner compensation shift from being based on seniority to being based on performance. I've seen law firms shift from being managed as partnerships with significant input from partners to a world where firms are run more like corporations with power concentrated at the top. I've seen a shift whereby revenue growth, previously achieved by working harder and by geographic expansion and practice area expansion, is now achieved by mergers and by increased billing rates. Now, I will leave it to others and perhaps to history to judge whether this evolution has been a good thing overall. But I want to focus on the effect that some of these changes have had on public interest firms, and then ask you all to consider whether you are comfortable with these consequences. For example, consider the following. 1, attorney pro bono hours have generally gone down over the past several years, despite the fact that pro bono hours typically go up during recessionary times when attorneys are not as busy. There's no real obvious explanation for this trend, but consider whether the focus by firms on the bottom line is in effect sending a perhaps unspoken message to attorneys about the importance of the billable hour and the relative unimportance of the pro bono hour. 2, contributions by most law firms to public interest organizations have remained at the same level for many, many years, even as the costs of running a public interest firm, like most other enterprises, continues to rise. Indeed, some firms have even reduced their typical donation in an attempt to cut expenses. 3, donations to public interest firms have been reduced by the impact of law firm mergers. I don't know of a single case where the merged firm donates as much as the aggregate amount previously donated by the separate firms that had merged. 4, from the perspective of the public interest firm, reduced funding sources, including the reduced amount received from IOLTA due to low interest rates, has resulted in more pressure to obtain grants and seek out different funding sources. The time involved both to obtain the grant and then to comply with the grant terms diverts precious resources away from the important work that public interest firms perform. Reduced funding has also resulted in more pressure to obtain attorney's fee awards and, quite honestly, in unhealthy competition amongst the public interest firms that work together on a particular case, each seeking to obtain as high a percentage of the fee award as possible. These are but a few of the changes impacting public interest firms. But I submit to you that these changes and the pressures that brought them about are corroding the spirit and the essence of what public interest law is all about. I implore you, please, please, don't let this happen. Please advocate within your firms and within your companies for a renewed commitment to pro bono and for increased financial support to public interest firms such as public counsel. For those of you who are attorneys, please don't let the business of law make you forget why the practice of law and the pursuit of justice appeal to you in the first place. Please don't forget the public interest attorneys and staff who have accepted lower pay and reduced benefits in order to devote their careers to those less fortunate. please don't let the pressure to improve the bottom line blind you to the increasing gap between the haves and the have-nots. For if you succumb to these pressures, not only will public interest firms suffer, but the entire legal community, and indeed the entire fabric of our society, will also suffer as a result. So, thank you very much. So on behalf of Public Counsel, again, I will thank you for your consideration. We're all in this together, and together I believe that we could stem the tide that is eroding the impact of public interest firms. Please enjoy the rest of your evening.